Hello and welcome back to another episode of the One Report here on this channel where we talk about the biggest talking points from the week regarding One Championship, and this week is no different. We've got a few things to get into. We'll talk a little bit about some big fight announcements for 170 in particular. There's a couple of fights on that card that I don't even think we've spoken about that got announced a couple of weeks ago. I believe it was during the week where we took a week off. So I'll chat a bit about those. And of course, there is one big fight in particular that has been announced for that card that I definitely want to talk about because it is a fantastic fight indeed. And we'll also recap One Friday Fights 92 that took place this past weekend, the final One Championship card of 2024, I do believe, unless I'm missing a Friday Fights card, but I believe that was the last one. So we will chat about that. I don't know whether there will be an episode coming out next week. It kind of just depends on if there's enough to talk about, really. I don't know. So there might be another episode next week on Monday. If not, then we will kick things back off in the new year. So, if this is the last episode until then I hope everybody has a good holiday period and new year. But before we get to that, let's talk about some One Championship stuff. Notice the Amazon box there in the background. I feel like it adds to the holiday vibe. I probably should have moved that before we started recording, but like I said, it adds to the Christmas theming. I say Christmas theming like I've done anything else to give any impression that this episode is being recorded 2 days away from Christmas. But either way, I hope everybody is having a lovely time, and let's chat about some fights. And we will start, like I said, with 170. This is, of course, the big numbered card that we are getting in January 24th, to be precise, at the Impact Arena in Bangkok. This is not the first big One Championship card of the year, because we do have One Fight Night 27 coming up. Is it the week before this, or is it 2 weeks before? I want to say it's the week before. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I actually can't remember. I haven't written up a schedule yet for MMA events or combat sports events that I'm going to keep an eye out for, I should say, in 2025. So I can't actually remember off the top of my head. But either way, January looks like it's going to be a pretty busy month for One Championship, and this card is a big reason for it, because this card is absolutely fantastic. We've already spoken about the 3 title fights on offer here, 2 of the best striking matchups that one could possibly put together right now. I would say Superlek versus Nico, maybe outside of Rodtang and Takeru, is maybe the most anticipated title fight they could put together right now. Super excited for that one. Fabricio Andrade, one of my favorite fighters to watch in One Championship. Very glad that he is back defending his bantamweight title in a rematch there. But some of the other fights on this card are absolutely outrageous, and that is what we are here to talk about today. So we have the 3 title fights at the top of the card, as we know, and like I said, as we've spoken about on this channel already. There is a video talking about the top 2 title fights that were announced, and there is a separate video talking about Fabricio Andrade. Well, did we talk about that on the One Report? I think we spoke about that in a separate video. Either way, you can go back and find that on this very channel. We also have this catchweight Muay Thai clash between Texan and Solin O. Again, pronunciation, I apologize if I butcher any of these names. It happens. You guys probably know that already if you are returning here. If you're not returning, drop a subscribe. We're getting near that 1,000 subscribers mark. That would be very cool to hit that in and around the new year. That would be awesome. So believe me, I watch a lot of YouTube content. I know that everyone says leave a like, drop a comment, all this stuff. It genuinely does help, and I'm sure any of you guys out there that also put up YouTube content will know what I mean. But this fight, it should be a lot of fun. Of course, we nearly had Solin, who it looked like the fight was going to be off following the car crash that he was involved in that looked very serious, but it looks like it's still going to go ahead, which is absolutely remarkable, and we will chat about that a little bit closer to the date. This fight is ridiculous. We're going to chat about that last, because that's kind of the big topic here today. Joe Nabil versus Bampara Kuyate is fantastic. That is such a good fight. We have spoken about that already. Don't know if we've spoken about Marcelo Garcia versus Imanari. We'll chat about this again a lot nearer the card. As someone who does enjoy submission grappling a little bit more than most combat sports fans, I would say, I think this is really cool to have Marcelo Garcia back, and I think that it's a really big grab for One Championship to get Marcelo Garcia on his return, because he could have gone anywhere he wanted and probably been paid pretty decent money to put on some kind of super fight or something like that. So the fact that one have got him here, I think it is fantastic, and he's spoken very, very well since this announcement has come out, and so I am excited to see what Marcelo Garcia is able to do. I should mention, I wasn't going to touch on it here, but One Championship have signed another top grappler in Giancarlo Bodoni, who I believe is a two-time ADCC winner, which, that is a big, big pull for them, and shows, I spoke about this when Mikey Musumeci departed to go and sign with the UFC, where he would compete on the Fight Pass Invitational. He obviously has already made his debut there. What one would do with submission grappling, because a lot of the big names that they were building the submission grappling divisions around are kind of, Ty Rutolo isn't super active at the moment. He's been dealing with some pretty big injuries. Cade Rutolo has been pretty open about MMA being his focus. From now on, Mikey's gone. You can tell it's near Christmas because I'm feeling under the weather. Let's have a sip of water. I've already had my morning coffee today, if you couldn't tell by the energy levels. And maybe I need to start doing that more often than drinking the coffee like during the episode, and then my energy gets like peak right as we end the video and I start rambling all over the place. I don't know. But yeah, one's still signing top talent in submission grappling, so it doesn't look like that is going anywhere anytime soon. I don't know if we spoke about Johan Gazali versus Johan Estupinan. I don't believe we did. This fight is bananas. This fight is ridiculous. I can't wait to see this. Both guys are so aggressive, so exciting to watch, and I'm surprised that one have put these two guys together at this stage, because Gazali was a guy that they were clearly super behind. I believe he won. Did he win like breakthrough of the year or something like that last year? For the win streak that he put together, and then obviously he got a main roster contract and then suffered that loss earlier this year, and it was kind of like maybe Gazali was being pushed a little bit too fast. Let's slow it down. He goes and beats Jose Cruz, knocks him out, looks impressive, and then straight into this fight with Estupinan, who has had some crazy fights. Like, Gazali has not been in the wars that Estupinan has been in, but at the same time, we have seen that Estupinan has that level, right? He has come out on top in those crazy, drag him out brawls. And with the aggressive, fast-paced style of Gazali, I think there's a potential that we get another one of those fights. I mean, Estupinan fights like a wild man. So you can, he is going to bring that out of opponents, even if they don't fight super crazy and aggressive. Gazali does that. Maybe not as kind of reckless and all offense in the way that Estupinan is, but this fight should be crazy. I love this matchup. Like I said, quite surprised that one put it together, because these are two guys that have had a lot of big spots on big cards and some very impressive performances, and two guys that one are clearly, they're super exciting. So I completely understand it. Both very young as well. So yeah, surprised to see this get put together at this stage. And the same can be said for the other matchup that I wanted to talk about here, which is Freddy Haggerty versus Jordan Estupinan, the twin brother of Johan. It is going to be a nightmare telling these guys apart on fight week. I'm sure the likes of my good friend Mr. Nick Atkin, who has been around these guys for quite some time at this point, I'm sure he can tell them apart. Maybe I'll have to ask him what the clear differences are. I'm terrible with things like this. If you guys watch pro wrestling, it has taken me until they have slightly different haircuts or different colors in their hair to tell which Uso brother is which. I am dreadful at that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna need one of them to maybe add a bit of red to the braids, maybe one of them to start saying yeet, and then maybe I might figure out which one is which. If you're not a pro wrestling fan, that probably sounded like absolute nonsense. But either way, another fight that I'm quite surprised to see. We did know that Jordan Estupinan was going to be competing in one, but to see him come straight in and face Freddy Haggerty, who, like I said, two young guys that one you would imagine are going to want to build and feature prominently on big cards. And this is kind of the first big spotlight for Hedy Haggerty. for Freddy Haggerty, who has been really impressive on Friday fights now. 3 wins in a row, 3 knockouts. That last performance against Calculi at One Friday Fights 91 at the start of December was very impressive. I've been super impressed with Freddy. I've interviewed him before, and just seems like a guy that is destined to go up these levels and eventually make it to the top. But I mean, I haven't watched Jordan Estupiñán fight before, but if he is anything like his brother, which I mean, they're literally twins, if he has the same fighting style, then I think this is going to be a really tough test for Freddy. But I would expect him to be the sharper of the two, maybe the more technical. But I don't know. Well, I haven't watched Jordan. I'm making us, I'm making assumptions on Jordan based on what I know about his brother, and his brother is extremely dangerous. So yeah, really interested to see how this one goes. A fantastic fight. This card is so good right now, and I'm sure we're gonna get, I don't know whether I imagine this isn't even the full card, so we might even get some more fun fights on here. But right now, this card is looking amazing, and I mean, I think Superlek versus Nico is the best fight on this card. Just in terms of course, Tao and Choi and Superbon is super high level. That will be an incredible watch, but we have seen it before. Superlet versus Nico, I think, would be my pick, but Cameron Nabati versus Nabil Anan is right up there as well. Bantamweight Muay Thai clash here, pretty much a title eliminator, you would imagine. Winner here will go on to face the winner of the previously mentioned Bantamweight Muay Thai world title fight between Superlek and Nico. Nabil, of course, was booked to face Petinong in December in a kickboxing bout that I was pretty surprised to see made, considering the winning streak that Nabil has put together in Muay Thai. But as I said at the time, if he's not going to fight Nabati, who is the other top contender, then, and I didn't know why that fight wasn't being put together. I just assumed that Nabati wasn't able to make that December card or whatever. Then, I think it made sense to give Nabil something meaningful to do in the meantime, rather than him just continuing to rack up wins over guys that we know he's going to beat, which, a couple of his most recent fights, I say a couple. The fight against Solinu, I was pretty confident that he was going to win fairly handedly, and he did. But this fight against Nabati is phenomenal. Nabil obviously lost his debut in one to Superlek, has put together an incredible win streak since then, stopping the Krob, beating Wang Tai, stopping Kulabdam, completely dominating Felipe Lobo for 3 rounds, and then going on to beat Solinu last time out in a bit of a showcase fight for him. Still just 20 years old. Nabil is the future of this division. He might just be the present as well. And we are going to find that out when he takes on Cameron Nabati, who is no joke of an opponent. The Russian has gone 4-0 since arriving in one championship. 3 decision wins over Pong Siri, Avatar, and Nongo last time out. And of course, a first round knockout over Sua Black that came in June at One Friday Fights 68. Nabati is super skillful, and I think he's going to be a really tough test for Nabil, because based on what I've seen from Nabati, I think he has the fight IQ and the wide, like the arsenal of weapons at his disposal to negate some of the range advantage that Nabil brings to the table against pretty much anyone you could possibly match him with. I don't know how tall he is. If you stood him next to Nico might be the only guy that can match him for that, but Nico is also a very big guy and supposedly a weight bully, even though he is one of the few top guys that seems to make the weight every single time. But that is a argument for a different video, I am sure. But yeah, this fight is fantastic. Super excited for this fight. This is, like I said, I think arguably the second best fight on the card. And when you have Superbon versus Tao and Choi in the main event, that says something. But, I think probably top 3. And I say that as somebody who's a big Fabricio Andrade fan as well. But probably top 3 for fights I'm most looking forward to. If you are a Muay Thai fan, I'm sure this card is absolute heaven for you. And if you're not a Muay Thai fan, then I mean, I'm kind of surprised you're here. But if you are here and you're like, oh, I've heard of Fabricio Andrade, or I want to check out this card from One Championship whilst 2025 gets underway. Maybe it's a New Year's resolution to check out some new promotions. this card's going to turn you into a Muay Thai fan if you are not already, because it should be amazing. And some of the fights on this card are either, you've got a great mix here of barn burner fights and high level, like highest of high level striking contests here. Also worth noting, I've literally just clocked this on the synopsis page here for this card. This bit here. Oh, I've highlighted like the whole thing. Plus, for fans in attendance, a special Fight Night production in partnership with The Beast in Me, an MMA action drama starring Daniel McPherson and Russell Crowe. I forgot this was happening. We did chat about this on an episode of The One Report, so you can probably go back and find that. I probably did add Russell Crowe in the tags, so you might be able to find it that way. But they are going to be shooting an MMA movie and using... I actually can't remember whether... I don't think in the initial article we spoke about, I don't remember who the article was by. It might have been like Variety or probably something like that. It said, I believe it said it was going to be a Friday Fights card, but it was going to be a Friday Fights card at the Impact Arena, and it has ended up becoming 170. So, yeah, they're going to film some stuff there. So, yeah, if you're going to this event at the Bangkok Arena, then have a look out for Russell Crowe, I guess. What a strange world that we live in. That will just about do it for talking about 170. Let's talk about One Friday Fights 92, the final One Championship card of 2024. Not going to spend ages on this card, to be honest, because there is a lot to do today. Let's dive in. In the main event, we had Choi going up against Shadow in a featherweight Muay Thai contest where Shadow came out on top. I thought that Shadow looked great in this fight. I thought Choi looked good as well. This was not a case of a passing of the torch, because that insinuates that Choi is no longer one of the best in the world. And I think he clearly is. But Shadow was just a step ahead at all times. That third round knockdown that he landed is one of the most beautiful knockdowns I have seen in quite some time. Fair play to Choi for just getting straight back up, because that shot looked like it landed with some force. He just got straight back up and finished the fight and didn't seem too badly hurt by it at all. So that is the veteran that is Choi. But yeah, fight was entertaining, a good main event to cap off this card. And yeah, I thought Shadow looked great. I don't know. I don't know what else you need to do to get a One Championship contract than going out there and beating Choi for 3 rounds and knocking him down in the 3rd round. I can kind of understand. I'll have another sip of water. I can kind of understand the justification for not giving bonuses for fights that aren't finishes. One is very big on prioritizing finishes. It's pretty rare, even in the UFC, that you'll get a performance of the night bonus for a fight that goes to a decision. Maybe unless it's like a really dominant one-sided decision. So I don't necessarily have a problem with him not getting a bonus here. Although, when you knock down Choi in the 3rd round like that, you probably do deserve one. But not getting a contract, really not sure what the reasoning behind that is. He is on a 4-fight win streak after losing his debut earlier this year. He has been one of the breakout names of 2024 in One Championship. Obviously, a lot of pedigree before arriving in One Championship, but in terms of One's roster, definitely one of the standouts of this year, even after losing his debut. And, he goes out there and beats Choi, who, like I said, one of the top guys in the world, a veteran, a living legend of Muay Thai and kickboxing. So just striking in general. So to not get a contract off of that, I'm really not sure. That was a very confusing end to the card indeed. We had a pair of back-to-back knockouts here. In fact, 3 second-round knockouts in a row here. Suikim's knockout was fantastic. He looked very, very impressive, back to his best in some ways. It's been, I suppose his last loss was right at the start of the year. And then he did get that win over Otis Waghorn. That was a big win for him. But yeah, this knockout over Pamrit, I think, really kind of got people excited about Suim again. So yeah, really, really impressive way for him to end the year. That finish by Song Chinoi, I could have butchered that name. Song Chinoi, apologies, was also beautiful. Igor Bikrev, one of the upsets of the year, stopping Pampayak in the second round. Yeah, this was a shock to the system. This was a shock to all the people I follow on social media who, of course, unsurprisingly, are big fans of Pampayak. Some things being said against Igor Bikrev that I won't comment on, but I think that there was definitely some signs. We will leave that right there. I don't know much about Igor Bikrev, so I don't want to judge him too much. But I did tweet out in the immediate aftermath that I thought he looked impressive in this fight. Clearly very powerful, clearly recovers very quick, and Pampayak just wasn't really able to get it going. Like, you kind of saw glimpses of this in the fight with Silvio Vitez, which was, of course, his long-awaited return that happened a few months ago. Just didn't really seem at his sharpest, and though he was effective and landing strikes, it kind of felt like it could come crumbling down if he was put under some serious pressure, and Igor Bikrev was able to do that. And he, yeah, you know, put it on him. And like I said, some accusations online regarding some things. I'm sure you can check that out if you want to. I'm going to withhold judgment until, something is, proven or whatever. Whether it ever will be, I don't know. But crazy. Pampayak losing. Did not see this coming. And even though I didn't think he looked great against Vitez, I didn't see this coming. And yeah, I don't know where we go from here. I don't know. I would like to see Pampayak get back in there and hopefully, build some activity and go through the motions a little bit and work his way back. But I don't know. I don't know whether it'll happen after this. I mean, Bikrev got a performance bonus for stopping him, and I think, definitely justified to go out there and pull off a huge upset. But I don't think that there was any doubts that he would have got a performance bonus for that finish. Impressive stuff from Igor Bikrev. So, I take nothing away from his performance. I thought he did look impressive in this fight. A beautiful first round knockout from Abdullah Dayakeyev. Just pure guessing there with the pronunciation, but I can't remember how they said it on commentary. But yeah, impressive finish from him. So excited to see what he is able to do going forward. Is he from Dagestan? I believe he is. But yeah, this win streak he's put together, he did come off a loss as well to get this first round knockout in 35 seconds. And it was one of those blink and you'll miss it finishes. But yeah, a run of majority decisions and knockout wins for him on Friday fights. So we should get some more of him in the new year, and I'm not mad at that indeed. First round finish for Ratki Erawan. There's, I think, just two fights. This performance, I kind of joked about this ahead of time. Shimon, I don't know, but this guy is a killer. This fight was super entertaining, and yeah, a incredible finish from him in the second round. So shout out to him. The other two fights that we are three fights, sorry. Marat Gregorian versus Abdulali Zahidi. I want to wrap this up super quick, so I'll give you my quick thoughts on this. And I tweeted this out at the time. It was kind of a race against time to see whether Gregorian could put Zahidi away before the referee waved off this fight, because Zahidi was grabbing Gregorian. Of course, this was in kickboxing rules. And Zahidi kept holding in like a Muay Thai clinch, holding the back of Gregorian's head. I don't think that the referee was totally justified in the amount of warnings, giving him a yellow card, and then, telling him, I'm going to stop this fight if you can't fight clean. And whilst, yeah, he should be fighting clean, it should be on the fighter to do that. He shouldn't be grabbing and holding in a kickboxing clash. The refereeing here wasn't consistent with one championship. It's kind of, as a football fan, this comes up a lot, right? Of the issue isn't necessarily poor officiating. The issue a lot of the time is inconsistent officiating, and I think that this is what this was. I don't think that the referee was, totally out of his right to be warning Zahidi and seriously cautioning him, but we see this happen a lot in one championship, and the referee is never this involved and never this strict about it. So I thought that it was a little bit out of place, and it kind of ruined the fight a little bit. I felt like, you know, I think a lot of people shared that sentiment. And, if the fight had continued, it would have got really ugly because I think Zahidi would have been disqualified. It would have happened. And that would have been disappointing for everyone involved, but especially Gregorian, who was trying to win this fight. And, if he gets his return to the win column via a disqualification, it kind of takes away from his hard work. In the end, he was able to put Zahidi away. And I think that the result in the end meant that it's quite easy to gloss over a lot of what happened in this fight. But there you go. That is my thoughts on that one. And finally, we will talk about these back-to-back fights here. Lu Mengyang upsetting Masaki Nori, who has gone 0-2 in one championship since arriving. Of course, a former champion in K1. I don't know. It's just not clicking for Nori. I've seen a lot of people say about the size difference is too much for him in this featherweight division. He needs to move down. I don't know whether that's a possibility for him because he's a tall guy, big frame. So those hydration tests are going to be pretty tough on him if he does decide to move down. But yeah, he's just not really able to implement his game very effectively against these guys. And I thought Lu Mengyang, I know that some people were like, I don't really know. I mean, I didn't know anything about this guy coming in. And I thought that it would be not like a layup opponent for Nori, but definitely somebody who he should be beating. Lu Mengyang looked good in this fight. He looked slick. Like, I know that Sitachai put on a really good performance against Nori, and I was sat here saying, Sitachai looks back to his best. What a performance. This kind of takes away a little bit from that because Lu Mengyang is not Sitachai, and he was able to do a lot of the same things against Nori and got the decision win. He did drop him in the first round, and that kind of sealed Noiri's fate. It was going to be difficult for him to really put the pressure on Mengyang, and he just wasn't able to do it. Yeah, same kind of thing with Payamp, where I'm like, I don't know where Nori goes from this. Clearly needs to make a change. Clearly needs to rebuild. And it has not gone his way in one championship. It was a tough night for beloved fan favorites and for former K1 champions because Kana Morimoto also suffered a debut loss here against Anissa Mexen. I saw a post. I don't remember who it was from, so I do apologize. I don't want to credit it to the wrong person by accident. So about how Anissa was always going to be a tough matchup for Kana because of just their styles. And I think that proved to be the case because Anissa was just too fast, too elusive for her. She is so good at timing those her moments to exchange and to get out, and she was just landing constantly. And whereas in the fight with Jackie Buntan, who was able to land a lot in those exchanges as well, and it was kind of the output of Anissa versus the impact of Jackie, and I felt like Jackie was able to capitalize on that, and had a power advantage over Anissa. Kana just wasn't able to do that. Was outranged, didn't look as fast, and just wasn't really able to land too much. There was some good exchanges, but I always felt like Anissa was in control. I always felt like she was a step ahead. She was quicker to the punch. She was getting out of the way before Kana could really respond with anything too significant. And yeah, it was a really good performance from Anissa. Like, for her to end the year with a big win here over an opponent that people have wanted to see her face off with for a long time was massively important for her, I think. Definitely redeemed her a bit because she suffered some losses in one championship to Jackie Buntan and Petjija. This fight also made me realize how much I miss Petjija. We need her back in the new year. I don't know when it could be. I would love to see her on that Qatar card. I would love to see her in Japan. If Kana had won here, her and Petjija in Japan would have been amazing on that Saitama Super Arena card, but doesn't seem like we'll get that now. But yeah, this also worth noting as well. This took place at atomweight, so I believe was Anissa's fight with Jackie at strawweight. I believe it was, right. So that, also plays a factor in this fight. But yeah, this I think was a really, really important win for Anissa. It definitely, gave it was a performance that she has needed in one in order to, I think, get her flowers in one. So very, very good win for her. And a bit of a disappointing debut for Kana, but we'll see where she goes from this. We don't need to start having the Pampayak and Nori conversation just yet of maybe it's not going to work out for her in one, because Anissa, I just think, put in a very impressive performance. And Anissa is, of course, one of the best strikers in this weight class. So we can take a look at this in a little bit of time. But, when you have Nori and Pampayak losing to guys that, they realistically should be beating. Although I have seen some stuff about Lu Mengyang that makes it look like he actually has quite a impressive resume to date. Not, obviously not on the level of like a Masaki Noiri, but like clearly a pretty exciting rising talent. How old is China's Lu Mengyang? It doesn't actually list it on One Championship's website. All right, well, we just won't address that then. And I think that will just about do it for what I said might be the final One Report episode of the year. I'm honestly not sure right now. Like I said, we will wait and see what news comes out in the following days, whether we will be back with you next Monday. If we are not, enjoy the holiday season. Well, do that regardless. But have a good new year. I'll see you in 2025. Thank you for all the support on this channel. It really does mean a lot. I say that every video, I think, but that's because I mean it. And yeah, if I don't see you Monday, I'll see you in the new year. Until then, peace.